Welcome to SchezzWho, Hampton Roads top spot for politics. I've been out and about in Virginia Beach and in Portsmouth today trying to maneuver myself around my day-to-day jobs working at parks. I also traveled to Yorktown, so I got to see a lot of stuff in Newport News as well. A lot of political signs out there. You guys know the deal. It is the political season. Do want to shout out, of course, my good things that helped started the show, get it off the ground, including my wife here, Miss Andrea Dixon, who has some good things going now with the state government in workforce development. So love her, proud of her. Good things are coming our way. My good friend, Miss Ellen over at Ellen's Homestyle and Barbecue Express, who has a great location here in Portsmouth Boulevard in Portsmouth, and of course, across from Regent University in Virginia Beach. Both ones have great food. So just look for Ellen's Homestyle and Barbecue to make sure that you get some dinner as you listen to some great politics. Also want to shout out my good friend, Mr. Seiko Varner over Positive Vibes Incorporated. He also created the app Hampton Roads Green Book, which is a great place to find local Black and Brown owned businesses. Of course, Positive Vibes also does credit fixes, tax resolutions, lending private money, and debt consolidation. So look him up for helping out your needs. And even if you need a DJ, you'll be able to get him with Mr. Seiko Warner. Tonight, we are going to go focus on some Portsmouth School Board-based politics by having on a guest who is already on the Portsmouth School Board but is running again. That is the Honorable Lakeesha Klu Atkinson. So I'm glad to have you first time on the SchezzWho, but the second time that I've been able to have you on, because the first one was like a forum about 2 years ago for the Beach Brothers show. So changed mockers. So I'm glad you've been able to come back on in this new election season. So how are you on this night?
I am exhausted. I am drained. And it's crazy. Thank you for asking that, and thank you for having me on the show. I'm currently doing this interview, and I'm also at another political function that's taking place right now. It's called Ballots and Beats, and it's a political karaoke, and it's at a Portsmouth business called Time on the River. So it's been a busy campaign. So just trying to manage everything, interviews, forums, questionnaires from different organizations. This is my third term that I'm seeking office for, and this is by far the most busiest one.
Interesting. Do you think it's because it's a presidential year? I mean, 2020 was as well, but you ran again in 22 and you ran in 16. So those were both election years too for the president. What makes this one so special?
I think the political climate. You look at social media, before, social media, the last couple of elections were on the rise, but now it's like social media, everything that is influencing politics. So that makes a difference. Then we have, the candidates that's very vocal about where they stand, Kamala, Trump. Every day it's a political ad. It's whether that's in a mail, text, So I think this presidential election is different. You have the first Black woman that's possibly going to be the president. So it's so much at stake right now. And then you have the Trump Vance team. You just don't know what to expect with them.
It does really inflame, I guess, the rhetoric and the eyes. A lot more people are watching than if it would have been like a congressional year. So I agree. It is heightened. So it's good that you're able to get on, speak about politics now, because the more people watching, the better chance you have at increasing your vote share. Before I go into some of my topical-based questions, I want to get a little bit more into your background, if you would, a little bit about your Portsmouth history and your civics-based history.
Okay. So for those who don't know, born and raised in Portsmouth, Virginia, born in Portsmouth General Hospital. Is no longer there, but a lot of 80s babies came out of Portsmouth General Hospital. I went to high school, Woodrow Wilson High School. Shout out the presidents. although I was part of the committee that renamed the school back to Manor to do the right thing. Our school no longer exists, but the pride is still there. So make sure if you are a Woodrow Wilson president that you like our alumni page on Facebook. We're getting real active right now. I further my education at Norfolk State University. Behold the green and gold. Uh, my degree is in sociology and criminal justice. And my background as far as, politics is just serving on, boards and volunteering. Before I ran for office in 2016, I was never involved in uh, any politics at all, but I always volunteer for campaigns. I canvass, made calls. So, I decided to, activate my political side, and that's why I decided to run in 2016. So once I was elected to school board, that opened the doors for other boardmanship opportunities. So now I serve on the Access College Board, the WHRO board, Starbase board, Man Foundation, Men Alleviating Negativity, and Stop the Violence 757. So it definitely activated a lot of opportunities for me.
So you're vice chair now. You got on the board via election in 2016. Can you tell us a little bit about your 8 years on the board? What are some of the cooler things that come to mind?
The cool things that come to mind, I mean, the best part about, serving on a school board, of course, as a board member, you want to make a difference. But my favorite part of the year is always graduation because, a lot of our children come from underserved communities. So, to see them beat the odds that was up against them and not being a product of their environment. And usually your one goal in education is graduating high school. So graduation is always, a highlight for me to see our children graduate.
And have you by chance attended a lot of graduations as a board member?
Absolutely. I have attended every year since I've been on the school board. So since 2016, I have not missed a graduation. And the funny part about that, my first graduation on the school board, we were using the Willett Hall venue.
Mhm.
And we experienced every weather, every climate that you can think of. One day it was extremely hot, one day it was extremely cold, and one day it was windy. So we was like, we have to move venues. So as a board member, we decided to move venues to the Chartway Arena located in Norfolk, Virginia. So that's how our graduations is now taking place in Norfolk, Virginia at the Chartway Arena.
Yeah, it gives me a chance to shout out my alma mater, Old Dominion. So cool for that.
You are
Um,
support.
Not that I have any dislike for the neighbors across town over at Norfolk State, because I'm going to bring them up a little bit later toward the end of the questions. But let's dive in a little bit more political based and some hard hitting topics right off the bat. Where might Portsmouth be falling in terms of teacher pay, working conditions, and are you a fan of school employee collective bargaining?
All right, where does Portsmouth fall? So right now, I can tell you as far as teacher pay, staff pay, we're not competitive. However, we just completed compre- a staff compression study in which that study, if you look into our last work session, we actually were presented with those numbers to get us aligned. So we're actually going to send the results from that conference, that pay compression study to City Council. Now, once that study is sent over, then the City Council has to decide whether they want to give us the funds, to get our staff, up to date. And so we are competitive with the area. With that said, if City Council decides to fund that, we're going to be the top in the area. So we're already doing the work. We understand that, retention is a huge thing. We have great staff members, but in the past, we weren't able to compete with the neighboring divisions. So that was important for us to do, to get that study done so we can align ourselves, and compete with the neighboring divisions. So I'm happy to say that that is done and that data has been sent over, with the monetary numbers attached to it. So um, that's really, all I can say about that. We did the work, we did the study, so now it's time for our city council members to step up, and so we can fund that. And with that, again, we would be at the top.
It's a good thing always to be ahead of your competition in Chesapeake and Norfolk, Virginia Beach. You want to make sure you get the best and retain the best. And I wonder, as I throw up here your Facebook political profile, and where it notices your endorsement from the Portsmouth Education Association, I do want to sort of underline again, if you do or if you do not support school employee collective bargaining.
Collective bargaining. So I would support that, but I would encourage. That was a question that was asked by the Portsmouth Education Association. Um, is that something that you truly want to do, or is a relationship with a school board actually better, to where you can come to your board and say, hey, these are the things we need, and we work together, as a whole, and fix those things? Because once you get on the side of collective bargaining and you say, hey, we would like a 2% raise for all of our staffs, and that's a part of the bargaining agreement. And then Portsmouth, all of a sudden, booms, we have the casino, revenue is coming in from the casino. Then we start, building on other ends of economic development. But a collective bargaining agreement, we're stuck at that 2%. So it's like a gift and a curse. And like I said, that's the same conversation that I had with Portsmouth Education Association. I think with the relationship, we can work together and determine the needs of the staff, and we can slowly but surely fix those problems. But I'm not against it. I always like to tell everyone the pros and the cons of collective bargaining.
All right. All right. Perhaps one day I might be able to hear um, a little bit more if, say, I attend a school board meeting and hear if that's ever coming up for a discussion, because I think you'd be good to input on that next topic here. Student and teacher mental health. What's the status of it program-wide, and where does it need to improve?
Student and teacher mental health, I can tell you, I mean, COVID, and I hate to keep referring back to COVID, but that brought about a significant change on how you do business all over, and not just in the school system. So a lot of divisions, including ourselves, is still recovering from COVID, from a mental standpoint, from a educational standpoint. Think about all the children that's not savvy with technology, all the children during COVID, who didn't have that parental assistance at home, uh, you know, just still trying to catch up. So um, I could say we are providing resources in our division, not just to students, but to our staff. We launched a whole Here to Help campaign, and that's our mental health campaign. We sent out mailers to all of our parents. We did billboards. We had T-shirts. We launched it at our school board meeting. But basically, what that campaign says is that we are here to help. If you're going through something mentally, we have resources available. We have, you know, that list is on our website, so anyone can look it up under Here to Help if you ever need resources. I think there are some providers on there as well. And again, it's not just for our students and staff. Parents can use that as a resource as well. So that was one initiative that we launched. What can we do better? Just keep pushing it out there. And also continue to collect feedback by doing surveys, send out the surveys to the families, and continue to do needs assessments on the temperature of the student, the teacher, and the staff. I'm big on climate checks and doing needs assessments. So that's what we can do right now to make sure that we're on track.
All right. Now, a little while ago, I think about 2 to 3 weeks, there was a bit of a rash of school bus stop dangers inherent to Newport News. So not Portsmouth, but Newport News. But it created a question for me when I asked candidate McSwain her opinion on violence in relation to bus stops. So school safety and student services at bus stops, should we improve it here in Portsmouth? Also, I just saw a pilot program where Lynchburg is providing students who miss the bus a ride service program. Is that a good idea in general that Portsmouth should be able to pursue?
Okay, let me answer your first question. So your first question was about school bus safety. So with that, there is nonprofits in the area that have, the safer passage programs where they have like monitors out at bus stops. I think we should look into partnering with those nonprofits that offer those bus programs. So it's like having a pal at the school bus stop, having like that extra security at bus stops. So I think as a school division, we should look at partnering with nonprofits that's doing those programs. The second part of the question regarding the program that Lynchburg launched, that was through a grant through the state, to where 10% of that funding that they sent to the schools was allocated to chronic absenteeism. What we would do with that, I'm not necessarily, I think it's a great program, but however, we have to look at, we have to take into account some type of accountability. What's the reason why students are missing the bus? Is it because they're waking up late? You know so should we as a school division, allocate our resources to kids who don't want to get up on time, or should we allocate our resources to kids, that actually is up and prepared to go in their school? So I'm definitely gonna look into the research behind why Lynchburg chose to, implement that program for kids that miss the bus, because I wouldn't want to provide transportation unless it's a bona fide reason, why kids miss the bus.
I want to shout out a good friend, Nick the Zombie over at Very Timely References, Conrad here. So thank you for that. Thank you for commenting, of course, because I do like to see the comments, including right here from Portsmouth Coffee Talk Morning and Evening Edition. Vice Chairperson Klu Atkinson is a great school board member and an even greater source of information as it relates to the Portsmouth school system. Her commitment deserves your vote. So look at that, getting a lot of good shout outs tonight. So excellent, good seeing you, Mr. James Overton. Glad you're watching.
I love to see, other show hosts support each other. That's awesome that y'all do that.
Yeah, he's got a great show. Some of the more recent ones I haven't been able to watch because I'm back in Virginia Beach starting my first shift with the out of school time program at about 6:30 in the morning. So Sally, it's how it goes. That's why I do my shows at night.
Gotcha.
School board doesn't often get as much flash as city council, but a lot of people who show up to it bring just as much heat to school board and bring their commentary on various things. And I'm starting to wonder, is school board too political in the sense that we've seen a lot of folks go to meetings and lambast equity-based education and gender education in schools? Is that good to see them come up and do that?
Well, I don't think a school board seat or council seat should be political, because the decisions you make is in the best interest of, the people. And with school board, it's in the best interest of the child, the staff. So school board is not a seat that should be polarized. I mean, think about it. If you're for all children. Are you for all children? And I'm going to bring up this issue because this issue is what made, school boards so political. Trans children. How can you be a school board member and say I'm for all children, but just not trans children? So that's what made school board positions political. Um, but then, should you question a candidate who goes against that says, transgender children shouldn't have the same rights as other children? So I think we got to look at now, that side of who's running for office. Are you for all people or are you for some people? So
Personally, I would second that. The rhetoric has to match the action.
absolutely.
That's how I would phrase that one. So I want to shout out a friend of mine from Hampton, Nakia Miller, who pushed a state bill named after her daughter, which would mandate a school employee check bathrooms every 30 minutes for the goal of increased student safety. So that didn't pass in the state bill, but should Portsmouth try something like that themselves?
So with that, checking bathrooms every 30 minutes, I support that. I'm big on school safety and security. It's all about, where that funding is going to come from, because that's going to require, an additional, staff member in the schools, because, who would be performing those checks? Do we assign that role to custodians? So we're all for, well, let me speak for myself. I'm all for, certain things that the state hand down, but a lot of things that the state hand down is unfunded mandates, which means they say, hey, this is it, this is law, but they don't attach any additional funding to it. So, smaller divisions like Portsmouth, always have to go and find it from somewhere. We're not a rich division. So we're impacted the most by these unfunded mandates. But however, it's something that if we had the funding, we would be able to support. But that was a great idea, because a lot of things happen in the bathrooms. We see, fights, children, you know, I've seen videos, kids doing drugs in the bathrooms, and the bathrooms, unfortunately, is a spot that a child would go to if they were considering suicide. So that 30-minute, time period could save a life. So I highly support that. Is how we gonna, fund it, and what staff is going to be responsible for it. But please tell your friend, great job on that.
I will indeed, and share the video with her to make sure that she's able to tune in and watch that particular section, because I think she'd be very interested. And we have another comment, this time from the Facebook page from mayor candidate Mr. Harold Carruthers. I'm running for mayor in Portsmouth. What's up with the Molden Olive Branch preschool classroom 14? Personally, I would not know about that.
All right, I can address that, and thank you, Harold, so much for your question. That was just brought to our attention. As far as, I think what a lot of citizens don't understand is us as a board. A lot of things don't come to us directly, so we hear things sometimes on the back end or when it's already handled. But being that issue was put on Facebook, that is now being looked into. So that mole issue should be is being addressed. So thank you for bringing that to the attention of us.
All right. Now, how about the topic of student discipline and parental accountability? Are our students and parents dropping the ball in any way that the school board should address?
Dropping the ball. I mean, from a board member, I mean, I can answer that question, but I think that would be best answered by a teacher that's actually in the classroom, that's actually with the children, you know, that day to day. But I can tell you from getting the feedback from the teachers that they could use a little bit of help from parents, as far as like, they're dealing with a lot of disciplinary issues in the classroom. They're not able to teach because they have to address disciplinary issues. So, I mean, they could use a little bit of help from the parents. I mean, the parents now have to be involved, uh, but that's easy to say because when you're dealing with a city like Portsmouth, a lot of parents are, you know, addicts. So we're dealing with addiction. We're dealing with children that's being abused. We're dealing with, latchkey children still. So they really don't have their parents. So, what can we do to help those kids who really don't have their parents at home? So that's an issue that we have to have all stakeholders at the table: Portsmouth Behavioral Health, Social Services, Juvenile Court, School Board, Sheriff Department, Police Department. That's something that we all need to collectively come together and sit at the table and find out how can we help these kids that don't have their parents at home. So that's a ongoing situation that we're trying to address.
All right, sounds reasonable. I want to throw up another comment from Nick here. How do you think we can make PTAs more active and accessible?
Gotcha. Thanks, Nick, for that question. Active and accessible. I think, with PTAs, again, it's parents. I know me as a parent with my stepchildren when they was in school. I was an active parent, but a lot of parents, they don't have that time. They're single parents, but is that an excuse? No. I think PTAs have to come up with creative ways to reach parents, start using the text line. When I got on school board, we were the first school division to go live, to utilize Facebook Live. I advocated for using our robocall system, the text system, the email system. So I think PTAs have to get more creative in reaching parents, start utilizing social media, meeting them where they are. I mean, think about it. If you send a text to a parent of that school division and say, hey, it's only $5 to join a PTA, that parent might send that cash app right then and there. They might pay right there. So I think it's a matter of meeting them where they are. And also another thing that we implemented with a grant is parent teacher liaison. So what they do is they have like these events at the schools. They have kids comedy shows, kids basketball games. They have like youth talent shows, and that's where the PTAs got to come in at and grab those parents, because those are the events that the parents are attending. So I think the PTAs can meet with our parent teacher liaisons and they come together, but start going to those events where the bulk of the parents are. And most of the parents are at athletic events. So grab them while they're attending athletic events and get them to join the PTAs.
Shout out to the horns.
Yeah, shout out to the Portsmouth, to the ferry that comes at the Portsmouth ferry dock. Again, if you're just joining, I'm doing this interview, and I'm also at a political event that's happening at Time on the River. Ballots and Beats. It's a political karaoke event, and elected officials and candidates from Portsmouth, Suffolk, and Chesapeake are attending this event.
How many Chesapeake folks are out? I've had Mr. Robert Ike on.
So far, I've seen 3 from Chesapeake.
Pretty cool. Any Suffolk?
I know Nadarius is here, Delegate Nadarius Clark. He's here. He represents portions of Suffolk. I haven't seen any other Suffolk candidates. And again, I had to step away to do the interview, so they may have shown up.
Who candidate-wise, who's actually sung pretty well today?
No one yet. Karaoke actually starts at about 8:45.
Well, let's see if I could try to get some of these out of the way to get you back out there to watch some of these candidates, hopefully not make a fool of themselves, but at least have fun.
Gotcha. And I'm going to do a song as well. So I'll be doing a karaoke song.
You're going to put that on video?
I might. A lot of people are going to be recording. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to be on somebody's Facebook page.
Put it right there on that Facebook. There you go. All right. So how about this? What is being addressed on the school to prison pipeline, and what needs to be improved on it?
School to prison pipeline. So right now, with Portsmouth Public Schools, so each year we have a school board retreat, and the chief of police comes to present, crime statistics, hot zones to us. And from there, we basically redirect, our resources to those hot zones. So we have a partnership with the chief of police. We've actually, the police department has assisted us with our camera system, our security system. So that was one thing that a good partnership with the security system. On top of the speed traps in the schools. I know that's not related to the school to prison pipeline, but that was another good thing as far as school safety that came about from our partnership with the police department. But as far as addressing the school to prison pipeline, as you know, that is due to, the reading scores. So we have hired additional reading specialists to assist reading specialists, reading coaches to assist our students with their reading comprehensive. So that additional staff was definitely needed. And I don't know if anyone looked at the recent data. It's not related to the test scores of third grades. Some of the recent data is that it's based on, the kindergarten, reading test scores that determines whether or not they're going to prison. So it backed up 2 grades now. So we definitely hired the staff to assist us with those, with reading and reading comprehension.
Here's one. Charter schools, school vouchers, and school choice. Good things or bad things?
I guess it depends on, what those charter schools, are for. What are they targeting? What is the purpose? I'm pro public schools. I'm a product of public schools, but I have seen some successful, you know, charter schools, for especially for children with disabilities and special needs. There's a charter school in Virginia Beach that's solely for kids, with disabilities and special needs. Sometimes, you know, public schools don't have the staff to actually, give them that one-on-one support, and that's where a specialized charter school would come in, to be able to address the needs of that particular child. So I'm not necessarily against it, but I am pro public school, and I do know that charter schools takes away from funding from public schools. So um, I'm always gonna, vote the way of, public schools.
I don't want to add too much of my own opinion, but seconded on that.
Yeah.
Should kids keep their cell phones on their person in school?
Not at all. So that's cell phone policy, and I addressed it in my wavy candidate profile. Children should not have cell phones in schools at all. It has become a distraction, to our teachers. My main concern when the governor had passed down that law, because it is, you know, a law, we had to pass it, was, how we're going to address certain things. For example, in possession, if something happens to the phone while we're in possession of the phone, who's going to be responsible for that? Also, what is our emergency preparedness plan in the event something was to happen? Do we have a clear and outlined plan? So I wanted the division to address that. What would our school-based technology be, or what is that considered? Because the language is utilize school-based technology, but we have to be clear to our parents in the event of an emergency, what technology are we using, you know? So I just wanted some of those things to be clear, but as far as utilizing cell phones in the classrooms, no, not at all. I'm definitely for that cell phone policy, no cell phone policy.
I do want to follow up because I have a Virginia Beach teacher-related official here who, how do you approach the fact that they have to access a lot of things that are able to be through courses? I have 3 teenagers that rely on it quite a bit for accessing student information within their course.
Got you. So I know with our students in Portsmouth Public Schools, all of them have Chromebooks. So with their Chromebooks, they're able to, access all of their school based learning through the Chromebooks. So our students wouldn't necessarily need their phones at all. Everything is on their Chromebooks. And
Now,
crazy, I just have to say this: our kids have figured out a way, since they don't have their cell phones, uh, break the Chromebooks and like message and talk through their Chromebooks. These kids are like geniuses. They're gonna find a way. But like I said, I don't know what the case is with Virginia Beach, but I know Portsmouth school students have their Chromebooks.
I live here in the West Haven community of Portsmouth, but I do travel from here every day to get back to Virginia Beach, where I hail from, for my parks job, which is out of school time. So I'm at elementary schools in the morning and in the afternoon. And I want to know if that type of program, which probably has a companion type of program in Portsmouth as well, and if not, it probably needs one. Where do you think Parks and Rec and School Board should try to do more with each other?
Well, with the Portsmouth Parks and Recreation Department, um, we actually have a partnership with them, with grassroots organizations where they utilize our schools for a lot of programs. For example, there was a barbering program in Craddock Middle School um, that was a partnership through Parks and Recreation. Stop the Violence 757 had programs through Parks and Recreation in Brighton Elementary and Parkview. There was a gardening program in Cavalier Manor that was a partnership with Portsmouth Public Schools and Parks and Recreation. So that partnership has allowed us to partner with, the nonprofit organizations to implement their programs in the schools. So that's the current partnership that we have now with Portsmouth Parks and Recreation.
Now, here's a big topic because I've seen it on a couple of the other websites that had candidate profiles, including WVEC, Wavy. I think you're interested in building a couple more schools in Portsmouth because of overcrowded concerns. So my topic following with that is school modernization. It's a big topic. It's very costly when they talk about it over in Virginia Beach. So how important is that here, both in cost terms, student terms, in Portsmouth?
Very important. It was one of my reasons I decided to rerun for school board. We definitely need another school. It's not something that we should keep putting aside. The Hampton Roads area, is a huge military transplant area, and most military families are moving to Portsmouth. So factor in the growth of the military and, the cost of living in Portsmouth, which is bringing in more people to Portsmouth and increasing our population. The casino has brought about, new job opportunities, which is aiding to, our economic development and our population. So we definitely need a new school, and I would love to see us do that groundbreak um, if I'm reelected to school board. But I have been advocating for a new school since I've been on school board. We were in the talks with that, but when your elected leaders on council change, unfortunately the priority changed. So we were talking about it, but it was put to the side. Now we're back talking about it. I
Mhm.
just want to see it done. You know, let's stop talking about it. We don't need the data. The population is there. The numbers are there. Let's get the money. Figure out what is needed to build the school.
Man, when I was at
Simple as
Salem in Virginia Beach back around 2001 through 2005, the high school football team had a shirt that said, "Don't talk about it, be about it." So
there we go.
that's the type of
There
thing.
we go.
Don't just keep talking about it, running on it, and then sitting on it for 4 years and then trying to run on it again. you got to do it. And I do want to throw this comment up, wishing you luck by Miss Seeger. So it's great.
Thank you, Mr.
We are nearing that all crucial 8:45 time slot for the candidates to start singing. So last real question will be, the all-important homecoming is coming up. Will you be returning to Norfolk to behold the green and gold?
Absolutely. That's my favorite time of the year, is to, go back to Norfolk State, and just, meet up with college friends, have fun. That's sometimes with work life, that's the only time some of us are able to like wind down and have fun. It's homecoming. So I definitely will be there. And the thing about Norfolk State homecoming is I see Norcom High School's homecoming is right behind that. And my friends say that I'm an honorary Greyhound, although I graduated from Wilson. So I actually participate in the Norcom festivities as well. So it's going to be a busy the last week of October and the first week of November. And then we fall into November 5th, which is election day. So anybody that's registered to vote in Portsmouth, be sure to rock the vote for Lakeesha Klu Atkinson, number 5 on the ballot.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to head out to the Norfolk State homecoming as well. Perhaps I'll see you. I'm bringing out my wife because she went there too. So.
Oh, awesome. And I just want to say one more thing. I'm big on, words and, just statements. And I have this hoodie on, and it speaks to what I'm about, and it's purpose over popularity. So, think about that in your head and figure out how it relates to you. But again, purpose over popularity.
Well, I will say this, get ready to go back inside. Hopefully someone's able to get footage of you singing as well. And to put that on the social media, we'll be able to enjoy that. All other candidates too, so make sure they get on film as well. I hope you have a great night. Thank you for coming on SchezzWho and telling people why they should vote for Klu in this election season.
Thank you, Conrad. Thank you, SchezzWho, for having me. I'll see you soon. Take care.
Much. You guys have a great night. All right, this has been another great SchezzWho. I will say that, man, I'm going to put on Nick's comment here about the Greyhounds. Yep, Norcom. Really good school. I've been there a couple of times to run the stairs. That is one thing I need to get back into, is running those stairs. Right as we were lining up, I saw that Sergio posted this comment in question. So unfortunately, I did not get to ask it to her. But in any case, I want to put it up here on the screen. One of the most highlighted topics in education is student discipline, specifically out-of-school suspension rates. What was the number of out-of-school suspensions for last year? Might have to ask that of her in another time, Mr. Sergio, but at least we did talk about the topic of student accountability, student discipline, and parents as well. So go back over, look at that comment. We are finishing up here, so I want to thank all you guys for watching, for liking, for hearting. A lot of comments tonight. That's the way I want to see it. A lot of your participation. In order to increase that participation, I want you to increase the liking of the episode, commenting on the episode, sharing it with people that you know in Portsmouth, because they need to know this when they go to the ballot box. And of course, subscribe to SchezzWho on YouTube, because this thing needs to grow. I'm already reaching out past my current city of Portsmouth and my former city of Virginia Beach. I've just had on Norfolk candidates, Chesapeake candidates, reaching out to Peninsula candidates. And before you know it, I'm going to be bringing on big state-wide candidates and talking about the great things in Virginia. And this is all because of you, if you subscribe to SchezzWho. I want to thank everyone for watching tonight. You guys tune in tomorrow, because we're going to have Portsmouth City Council candidate